Every day, we see the darker side of the world around us. We witness how people can hurt others in ways that are hard to understand. It's a sad part of life, but it's something we can't ignore. As someone who dives into the world of crime, I'm here to share the most shocking stories and try to understand what drives people to do such things. I'm Michael, and today, I've got another unreal true crime story for you.
Did you notice that you were falling in love with him?
Yes.
When you noticed that you were falling in love with him, Miss Marin, did you say to your husband, hey, I'm done with this marriage, I'm gonna go with somebody else?
No.
Why not?
Well, I wasn't going to go with Camilo. That we never discussed that. That was never our plan to be together.
What was your plan?
We didn't have a plan.
This is Jenny Marin, who shared her gripping testimony. A tale of a woman stuck in an unhappy marriage. In search of comfort, she turned to an old friend, never expecting that her decisions would set off a chain of events leading to a devastating tragedy. Camilo Salazar was born in April 1968 in Colombia as one of the two children of Eduardo and Maria Inés Salazar. Alongside his sister Carolina, Camilo grew up in a close-knit family. At some point, the Salazars decided to move to the United States, settling in Florida, where Eduardo built a successful career as a real estate investor. Camilo embraced every opportunity to learn and eventually earned a university degree. He later established an interior design company, dedicating himself fully to his work. Friends described him as a kind, hard-working man who loved sports, outdoor activities, and the ocean. In his youth, Camilo became a world champion in ultimate frisbee, a team sport played with a flying disc. This passion not only earned him accolades, but also friendships that led to travel adventures around the globe. When Camilo felt ready to start a family, he married Daisy Holcomb, an event planner. The couple settled in a modest Miami neighborhood, where they welcomed their first child, Ava, and later their second daughter, Skylar, in 2011. The Salazar family became well-respected pillars of their community and active members of St. Stephen's Episcopal Church, often volunteering for events and fundraisers. Camilo was known as a devoted husband, an exemplary father, a loving son, and a reliable friend. By late May 2011, Camilo and Daisy were adjusting to life with their newborn daughter, Skylar. Both managed busy schedules. Camilo oversaw multiple family businesses in addition to his own company, while Daisy planned events for her clients. They took turns caring for the baby, juggling responsibilities seamlessly. To everyone around them, they appeared to be a happy, thriving family with a bright future. That perception shattered on Wednesday, June 1st, 2011. The day began like any other, with Daisy leaving early for work while Camilo prepared his oldest daughter for school, and he also had to drop off Skylar at Daisy's office. At the agreed time, he arrived, handed the baby to Daisy, kissed her goodbye, and promised to return soon. But Camilo never came back. As hours passed without a word from him, Daisy grew worried. She called friends and family, who helped search for him. His truck was found abandoned near his office, with the driver's window rolled down. Fearful and desperate, Daisy reported Camilo missing to the Miami-Dade police. Authorities launched an immediate search, reviewing surveillance footage but finding no leads. Later that day, firefighters responded to a blaze near the Everglades. Upon arrival, they discovered the horrifying source of the fire, a human body. The victim, a man with bound wrists, severe injuries, and burn marks, was identified as Camilo Salazar. The devastating news left his loved ones in shock, struggling to understand who would want to harm such a well-loved figure. Detectives soon uncovered a troubling truth. Camilo had been involved in an extramarital affair with Jenny Patricia Marin, a married woman. Her husband, Manuel Marin, was a prominent Miami businessman. As investigators pieced together the events, they began to suspect that Camilo's death was connected to a crime of passion, unraveling a web of secrets that changed the lives of everyone involved. Manuel Marin's business ventures had grown significantly, expanding into multiple states, including New Jersey. It was there that he first met Jenny Patricia Marin during a period following his divorce from Maria, his first wife. Although their initial relationship didn't develop into anything serious, they reconnected years later. Despite a 20-year age gap, Manuel pursued Jenny once more, surprising her with a dazzling diamond ring and a marriage proposal. Their wedding was an extravagant affair, akin to those of celebrities. After tying the knot, the couple lived briefly in a beachfront penthouse before moving into a sprawling waterfront estate in Lighthouse Point. Their luxurious lifestyle included chauffeurs, domestic staff, and all the amenities money could buy. Together, Manuel and Jenny had 2 children who were raised in privilege, attending private schools and enjoying annual vacations to exotic destinations. Outwardly, Jenny seemed to have an enviable life, but as she later revealed, she felt increasingly isolated and lonely. She didn't work and had few friends, finding solace mainly in her children. Manuel's frequent absences and emotional distance created a growing rift between them. By 2008, shortly after the birth of their youngest child, Jenny's stagnant life took an unexpected turn. She received an email from her old friend, Camilo Salazar, who reached out to check in and see how she was doing. That simple message awakened something in Jenny, and she began to rekindle her friendship with Camilo. At first, their conversations were innocent, though some sources suggest Camilo claimed he was divorced. As their bond deepened, Camilo became Jenny's confidant, offering her a shoulder to lean on. Although they initially didn't plan for their relationship to turn romantic, the emotional connection between them eventually led to a full-blown affair by 2010. To keep the relationship hidden, Jenny purchased a disposable phone to communicate with Camilo. They met discreetly, often at a mall where he would pick her up and drive to a hotel for private moments together. Their bond grew stronger with each meeting, but Jenny maintained she had no intention of divorcing Manuel, citing his role as a good father. In February 2011, their secret came to light. Manuel, then 64 years old, discovered Jenny's affair. The revelation occurred in a bakery in southern Miami-Dade, where Jenny and Camilo were waiting in line. Manuel appeared unexpectedly, his expression shifting between anger and a mocking smile, according to Jenny. He confronted her, forcibly leading her to his car, where he confiscated her keys and phone. As he drove, he demanded details about Camilo, shouting and berating her. Jenny eventually managed to escape, jumping out of the vehicle and hailing a taxi home. Once safe, she used her secret phone to call Camilo, who recounted his own tense encounter with Manuel outside the bakery. Following this incident, Manuel's behavior toward Jenny became increasingly controlling. He monitored her calls and scrutinized her every move. Fearing further conflict, Jenny and Camilo ceased contact for nearly a month, yet the damage was already done. Manuel's distrust, resentment, and desire for revenge had taken root. By late May 2011, tensions in the marriage were palpable. Despite this, Manuel organized a family yacht trip to the Bimini Islands in the Bahamas. Jenny later described the trip as unsettling, noting her husband's cryptic behavior. At one point, Manuel ominously told her to stop what she was doing or risk causing a disaster. He offered no further explanation, and Jenny didn't press him for details. Additionally, unlike previous vacations, Manuel stayed glued to his phone, stepping away to take calls in private. The trip concluded on June 1, 2011, when the family returned to their Lighthouse Point home. That same day, Camilo was reported missing, and his burned body was discovered hours later. Oblivious to the tragedy, Jenny repeatedly tried calling Camilo in the days that followed but received no response. Meanwhile, Manuel abruptly disappeared as well, taking his passport with him. Growing increasingly alarmed, Jenny sought help from an attorney. When the lawyer searched Camilo's name online, the horrifying truth came to light. Camilo had been brutally murdered. This was how Jenny learned of his fate. Convinced that Manuel was involved, she began to suspect that the family trip had been a ploy to establish an alibi. Adding to her suspicions was Manuel's sudden departure to Europe shortly after the crime. Shortly after Manuel Marin fled the country, his son, who held power of attorney over his father's affairs, finalized the divorce with Jenny. The settlement allowed her to retain the luxurious home they had shared and granted her $10,000 per month in child support for their 2 minor children. While Manuel called Jenny several times to apologize for abandoning his family, he never admitted to any involvement in Camilo's murder. Although the investigation into Camilo's death seemed to stall publicly, the police continued their work discreetly. Detectives believe Manuel, the wealthy supermarket magnate, had the strongest motive to eliminate Camilo and began scrutinizing his connections and movements. They discovered that Manuel had traveled to Spain, where one of his children lived, and frequently visited Cuba. In March 2018, Jenny even traveled to Cuba with her children to meet their father, though she later claimed she never asked Manuel about what had happened with Camilo. That same year, Manuel's son was arrested in Miami-Dade for allegedly financially supporting his fugitive father. At 32 years old, he was released on a $200,000 bond. Meanwhile, investigators uncovered critical evidence linking Manuel to at least 3 accomplices in his elaborate plan for revenge. Records revealed that Manuel had recruited men he met through his passion for combat sports. The suspects were identified as Alexis Villa Perdomo, a martial arts expert, Ariel Gandula, a former mixed martial artist, and Roberto Isaac, a fight promoter and alleged gang member. Alexis, a 1996 Olympic bronze medalist, had defected from the Cuban team the following year. After a stint as a university coach in Michigan, he was imprisoned in 2004 for driving his car into a terminal at Fort Lauderdale-Hollywood International Airport, which led to terrorism charges. Despite claiming it was an accident, he served 3 years in prison before launching a career in mixed martial arts, boasting a record of 15 wins and 7 losses. Though Alexis was in Las Vegas for a fight during Camilo's abduction, authorities uncovered extensive communication between him, Manuel, Ariel, and Roberto. Investigators believed Alexis had coordinated the fatal attack. Both Alexis and Roberto were arrested, but Ariel fled to Vancouver, Canada, where he remained in hiding for over 5 years. In his eventual testimony, Ariel claimed he was present when Camilo was abducted, but fled upon realizing the violent intentions of the group. His account was corroborated by cell phone location data. Despite identifying all key players, prosecutors initially had only circumstantial evidence, making a trial risky. This changed in 2018 when Ariel agreed to return to the United States under a plea deal that required him to testify against the others in exchange for leniency. On August 16, 2018, a major breakthrough occurred. After 7 years on the run, Manuel Marin was captured in Madrid. He was attempting to enter the United States Embassy for a passport-related matter when his nervous demeanor aroused the suspicion of Spanish police. Upon verifying his expired visa and international arrest warrant, authorities detained him. Following his arrest, the supermarket chain he had founded released a statement distancing itself from Manuel. The company clarified that Yadiel, his son, held a minority stake in some locations but emphasized that Manuel had been unaffiliated with the business since 2011. Manuel was later extradited to the United States, where he was imprisoned awaiting trial. On November 20, 2018, Manuel appeared in court, but the trial faced numerous delays. Initially set for July 9, 2019, proceedings were postponed repeatedly, with additional setbacks caused by the global health crisis beginning in 2020. By late 2019, the first to face justice for their roles in the crime were Alexis Villa Perdomo, Roberto Isaac, and Ariel Gandula. They stood trial for charges including murder, kidnapping, and conspiracy to commit both crimes. Ariel, in exchange for a reduced sentence, became the prosecution's star witness. Jenny also took the stand, her emotional testimony providing insights into her relationship with Camilo and the fallout when Manuel discovered the affair. Among the spectators was Daisy, Camilo's widow, who later delivered her own powerful statement in court. During the trial, it was revealed that Manuel had sponsored Alexis, who recruited Roberto and Ariel to execute the plan: abduct, assault, and ultimately kill Camilo. A pivotal moment came when a cell phone geolocation expert testified, linking Manuel and Roberto's phones to a location near where Camilo's body was found. In December 2019, after 8 days of testimony and just 2 hours of deliberation, the jury found Roberto guilty of second-degree murder and conspiracy to commit kidnapping. He was sentenced to life in prison. Alexis was convicted of conspiracy to commit kidnapping and murder, receiving a 15-year prison sentence. Ariel, thanks to his plea deal, was sentenced to 36 months and released in April 2022. The long-awaited trial of Manuel Marin began in March 2023. Now 69 years old, Manuel faced charges of orchestrating the heinous crime against Camilo, his wife's lover. Though he pleaded not guilty and declined to testify, the evidence against him was damning. Key testimony came from a geolocation expert who demonstrated that Manuel's phone had pinged a tower near the crime scene. Ariel's testimony was equally critical, describing how Camilo was abducted and brought to the site where he was killed. Ariel also claimed he saw Manuel at the scene, sitting in his blue Mercedes-Benz. Jenny corroborated parts of Ariel's account, recounting how Manuel had abruptly left their home on June 1, 2011, citing urgent business. The prosecution argued that by this time, Camilo was already in Manuel's custody, awaiting his grim fate. A forensic expert detailed the brutality of the crime. Camilo was beaten, sustaining fractures to his jaw and skull. His throat was cut and he was set on fire while still alive. While Manuel was originally charged with second-degree murder, prosecutors could not prove his direct involvement in the assault. In May 2023, nearly 12 years after Camilo's murder, the jury found Manuel guilty of involuntary manslaughter, criminal conspiracy, and kidnapping. During the sentencing hearing on May 22, Daisy delivered a heartbreaking victim impact statement, accusing Manuel of robbing her daughters of their father and destroying their lives. The court sentenced Manuel to life imprisonment for kidnapping, 30 years for involuntary manslaughter, and 15 years for conspiracy. Camilo's family expressed relief that justice had been served, but acknowledged that no sentence could restore their loss. Beyond the criminal trial, Daisy filed a civil lawsuit against Manuel and his family for the damages caused by his actions. As of the time of this writing, the outcome of the lawsuit remains unknown, as do the legal proceedings against Yadiel for aiding his father's escape. Manuel now resides in the Metro West Detention Center, serving his sentence. Jenny and her children have retreated from the public eye, yet the ripple effects of this tragedy linger. A man murdered in cold blood, 4 children growing up without their parents' love and guidance, and lives shattered by betrayal and vengeance. Now that you've heard the full story of jealousy, infidelity, and revenge, we want to hear your thoughts. Do you believe infidelity ever justifies violence? Or is it better to separate and move on to prevent such tragedies? Share your perspective in the comments. Thanks for tuning in to Unreal True Crime. If you're intrigued by mysteries from around the world, check out our new channel, Latin Crimes, where we dive into the gripping true crime stories of Latin America. Don't miss out. Subscribe now for more thrilling investigations.